Captain Midnight.
This video is brought to you by Curiosity Stream. Venom 2 is in trouble. Look, I get that sounds clickbaity, I really do, but I also think it's 100% true. I didn't hate the first Venom. In fact, I enjoyed just how weird and goofy it was. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of Tom Hardy's version of the character. But here's the thing. Sequels are a risky proposition these days. That may seem weird to say in an era where it feels like everything is a reboot or a sequel, but just look at the box office these past few years, outside the Disney machine especially. For every John Wick 2 or 3, there's a Godzilla King of the Monsters, a Secret Life of Pets 2, or a Dark Phoenix. Movies that, regardless of how you feel about them, fail to live up to expectations at the box office. And that's not the only thing that Venom 2 has going against it. The first movie made a surprising amount of money, sure, but its reception was less great. Critics seemed to absolutely hate it, and while general audiences seemed a lot kinder, I'd hardly call the movie beloved. If anything, the consensus seems to be it was like, maybe okay? And that's a problem. Look at Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. That movie's release actually has some similarities with Venom's. Critics weren't into it, audiences kind of were, but it was a smash hit. Then a sequel happened, which became an embarrassing flop. And that's far from the only example. The Huntsman Winter's War and Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows both show what can happen to sequels to movies that make a lot of money but aren't all that well liked. I think this could easily happen to Venom 2 as well, but it doesn't have to. So this week I want to go over a few ways I think the Venom sequel could get over that sequel slump and win over some new fans in the process. But obviously, these are just my opinions. I'd love to hear yours in the comments below, too.
You're trash, Brock. Excuse me? Your picture's a fake.
It's clear that Sony is looking to change things up going into the next Venom film. Ruben Fleischer, the director of the first movie, is out, and Andy Serkis is in. I'm perfectly fine with this, but I'm also not beyond thrilled or anything. Ruben Fleischer is far from a master of visuals, and the cinematography in Venom is exactly the kind of bland, uninspired stuff that I'm used to seeing from him in movies like 30 Minutes or Less. But I did like the weird and honestly pretty unique comedic tone that the movie had, even if so many of the other aspects of Venom just fell flat on their face. So I get wanting a big change behind the camera, but Andy Serkis, I don't know. A lot of people online thought it was great news. After all, the guy is beloved as the actor who helped bring us Gollum and Caesar. And I really like both those performances too, but as a director, I'm less sure about him. Serkis has directed 3 movies, and I'll admit that I've only seen one, Mowgli: Legend of the Jungle. His Jungle Book movie that got tossed onto Netflix after being totally overshadowed by Disney's remake. And as much as I'd like to side against Disney on this one, I really thought Mowgli was a total mess. Pretty lifeless and dull in the worst way. So while I've heard that one of his other movies, the romance film Breathe, is a lot better, I gotta say, what I've seen from him just doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Still, he has a real chance to change that with Venom 2, and probably a pretty sizable budget to do it with, so I won't count him out. But what should his version do to set itself apart from the previous film? Thankfully, I think they have a couple things going for them here. One is the post-credits scene of the first movie that introduces Woody Harrelson as Carnage. Is the wig really bad and his one big line kind of obvious and clunky? Definitely, but that doesn't mean there's still not a lot of potential here. Rethink the look of the character and give him a good script, and I think Harrelson could kill it as Cletus Cassidy. This role is squarely in his wheelhouse, and with the right material, I think he could be up there with the best villains comic book movies have to offer.
They'll be crushed by it. Speaking of crushed, it's showtime, freaks.
But what should that material look like? Well, hopefully Serkis already has a strong vision for the movie in mind, but if he doesn't, I do know one place I think he should look. See, that's the other thing the film has going for it. In the last year or so, Venom has seen a huge boost in popularity in the comics, and that's mostly thanks to Donny Cates' incredible run on Venom. Seriously, the book went from a second or third tier title to one of Marvel's best sellers. sometimes beating out Amazing Spider-Man itself. And there's definitely a good reason for that. They're just really good comics. They deliver all the symbiote action readers would want from the title, while also adding in a lot more character depth and cosmic horror than they might expect. From bringing in new villains to reintroducing old ones, Cates and artist Ryan Stegman have managed to create probably the most exciting solo title of the last few years. And if I'm in charge of making Venom 2, I'm definitely paying attention to that, and I really hope Sony and Serkis are too. In fact, on Twitter, Cates himself has expressed interest in working on the film. And even though he doesn't have much experience with the medium, I think they should absolutely take him up on that. Because a Venom 2 with a script that measures up to the recent comics would be a huge step up. And look, maybe the ship has sailed, but I'd also really like to see Spider-Man in it. And it doesn't even have to be Peter Parker's Spider-Man. Early on in Cates' run, he used Miles Morales really well, and I'd love to see the movie try something similar. And if they went that route, they wouldn't really have to contend with the MCU connection at all. Since they've already disconnected Venom's origin from Peter Parker, there's no reason they couldn't just use Miles instead, and they'd probably have a lot more freedom if they did, including being able to tie it into Spider-Verse, if they really wanted to. Another thing I really think they need to do to avoid a flop sequel is to change the entire look and tone of the franchise, both in the movie itself and the marketing. When the first Thor Ragnarok trailer hit, it did one thing really well. Communicate to everyone that this movie would be drastically different from the first two films. And it worked. Almost instantly, it felt like the bad taste left by The Dark World was washed away, and people seemed legitimately excited for that movie. This is what Venom 2 needs, and it needs it really badly, in my opinion. People need to walk away from the first teaser of this new movie knowing that it'll be a very different experience, not just a straightforward sequel. And with the inclusion of Carnage, I really think it would help to go with a bright red color palette. The first movie is just so visually uninteresting. Both in the CG and in the color grading, it just looks kind of blech. So start from scratch. Build the movie around vibrant colors. Let Serkis do something completely different. Sony's live-action films often look kind of low rent, but I think it'd be great if Venom could follow Spider-Verse's example and go in the exact opposite direction.
Rotten apple here, people.
Sad thing is, he'll probably get his own talk show for this.
Now these are just a few basic ideas, but I think they could go a long way to making Venom a franchise to contend with. Something that can stand toe-to-toe with the best of the genre. Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson are actors that can deliver amazing work. What they need is a screenplay that's worth their time. And whatever it ends up being called, I really hope Serkis and company manage to give them at least that in Venom 2. One of my favorite aspects of Donny Cates' run on the character has just been how crazy and cosmic it's been willing to get. If that kind of stuff interests you, you might want to check out Stephen Hawking's Favorite Places on Curiosity Stream. This series is a deep dive into the work and ideas of the late genius Stephen Hawking. So I was completely hooked throughout all 3 episodes. And that's really just an appetizer to all the great space documentaries that Curiosity Stream has to offer. It's a streaming service from the founder of the Discovery Channel that has over 2,400 titles to choose from. Science, history, tech, you'll find that and a lot more ready to watch right away. Curiosity Stream is available worldwide on a lot of devices and starts at only $2.99 a month. But you can also get 30 days on the service for free right now, just by going to curiositystream.com/CaptainMidnight, which you'll find a link to in the description and pinned comment below.
Here's a special tip for the fellas and girls who have not already joined Captain Midnight's new 1940 Flight Patrol. You'd better hurry up and join at once, because there's a big adventure ahead. The thing to do now is to get started, because we're going to have not only barrels of fun, but loads of free gifts and